Shoe. Recorded live.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us in the now, or in another now, as you may be listening to this later, listening to the recorded call either on YouTube or in the TalkShoe archive. My name is Barbara Sadler. I'm the creator of the Mayan Cross website and creator and producer of these Mayan Cross Community telewebcasts. This is our 5th episode out of a total of 20. And on this platform, we're co-creating a virtual sacred fire circle every 13 days throughout 2013. And it's our intention here to become more intimately connected with the Mayan sacred calendar, just as the Maya do, by living it and by using the oral tradition to communicate our experiences with the nawals, with the day signs. Today's topic, Dancing Between Two Day Signs, addresses one of the most often posed questions about how to determine the proper day sign for an individual. So I will soon introduce our expert on the topic. We have Daykeeper Kathy Shea from Wisconsin, who's going to be helping us understand this seemingly complex scenario. Also on the call today, we have Jeff Grant out in LA, who's been helping us with all things technical, all things creative, and we appreciate your support in all ways, Jeff. And thank you for being here. And today is Friday, May 10th, and that's on the Gregorian calendar. And it's also a solar eclipse that is happening on the other side of the globe. In fact, it's probably just about winding down. If we have anybody from Australia, I'm just on the call, I'm just wondering, is anybody in the dark? In terms of, because the eclipse was going to cover the Earth, the sun's surface by about 95%, so it was going to be pretty complete. And not too ironically, today is one sun, or one un apu on the Mayan sacred calendar. And so I don't think any of this is coincidental, but what we're going to do now is just take a moment to settle in to our inner selves, get grounded, get centered, and we'll have a quiet line here. I'm going to mute everyone at this point so that you won't be able to speak. There won't be any noise on the line. But we'll just, when you do want or need to speak, just press *6, and that will open your line. So it's in this moment that we can light our candle or candles. If you're sitting next to your altar or have your bundle or your staff in your lap or next to you, this is the point where we'll begin to go inside into that rich, deep, and profound inner world. You may sit tall and comfortably with a nice straight spine, grounding the feet and the sit bones, feeling held gravitationally onto our earth. And begin noticing your breath, simply, softly, as your breath comes in and out of your nostrils. Feeling the sweetness of the breath, and attention to the breath enhances every moment, as well as an awareness of who we truly are at our deepest level. It brings us awareness of our perfect selves, our soul. And together we'll ask the heart of the heaven, the heart of the earth, the heart of the wind, the heart of the water, and the heart of the fire to be with us at this time. We can sense our hearts opening to all of these elements, to all of the divine forces of the universe, connecting all of us together in this sacred circle. And let's give thanks to Ahau for the nawal this day, one sun, Hun Ahpu, who shines brightly upon us this day, guiding our visions, helping us to overcome negativity and any obstacles that prevent us humans from realizing our full potential. Un Apu, know that we trust your power and your strength to keep us in integrity. Un Apu is the blowgun hunter in the Popol Vuh, the Mayan sacred text, whose pellet knocks the heck out of the jaw of Hukub Kahiks, who represents the 7 deadly sins. I won't go on to tell the grisly details of the Popol Vuh, but know that Unapu teaches us what to stand for, whom to stand with, when and how to take the stand necessary for the highest good and the greatest growth of all involved. So let's reflect for a moment to feel that strength, the power of the love and the light that binds and protects us all. And as it's practiced in the highlands of Guatemala and the Maya lands, Hunapu is also the day to connect with the ancestors. It is said that the actual custom of honoring the ancestors began on this day, the practice of venerating the dead, as we Westerners may know it as the Day of the Dead. That's not only happening at the end of October. It happens on every Hun Apu day. And on these days, you'll find the Quiche Maya families making picnics to the cemeteries to honor their ancestors. And they have the ability, they have the awareness to call back and name by name back 9 to 13 generations. So the lineages are very, very strong. This is the day that they pray that any lingering souls of the deceased may travel safely into the underworld, stay there for a while, and maybe have the opportunity to pass on up to the heavens. So if you'd like to take a moment to honor your ancestors, in your mind's eye, calling them by name, and if you're able, going back many, many generations, and feel their presence this morning in our circle. So we feel that presence expand and deepen our awareness in this moment. And also with us on the call today is a woman that I met for the first time in Guatemala in December. Zena, are you there? Press *6, Zena, to unmute yourself. Are you there? I show that you're here.
Hello?
Okay, I unmuted everybody.
Oh, good. Yeah, it wasn't, the *6 was not working for some reason.
Okay. Well,
but
here
I'm
you
here.
Are you at work?
Excuse me?
Are you at work now?
I'm at work, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, Zena, as it so happens, has a Mayan birthday today.
Yes.
And happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much. I'm in Minneapolis, and it has been very rainy and gray for the last few days, and today we are blessed with a bright sun in the sky. So, and I want to thank you so much for doing these celebrations, these virtual fire ceremonies. I feel like I was introduced to the Mayan calendars when I first came to Guatemala last December, so I'm very new to all of this, but I've really kind of been paying more attention to the energies each day and following the calendar, and I just find it a beautiful system, very insightful, and this forum is just a great way to further the study, and I love that it's these oral connections, and so I want to thank you so much, Barbara, for doing this.
Very welcome.
It's
you're very welcome.
A lot of work, and I really feel like I get to benefit greatly from it.
Well, you know, from being around the sacred fire in Guatemala, how the Maya do it. Do you want to take a minute to describe that for everybody? I mean, not only what you noticed about it, but what it did for you also. And how you may use that background to approach your Mayan birthday today.
I think mostly what I remember from that experience is just well, it's in my body, actually. It's kind of an embodied experience. This is what is interesting to me about studying any kind of energy system. Especially at this point, I have a lot of books that I'm reading about the Mayan calendar, but it's so flat and so abstract. And it's a little bit complicated when it is on that linear level. So to actually have experienced it and experienced the energy and experiencing the different tattas and nanas expressing their perception and their understanding and their knowledge, sharing their knowledge and experience around the fire. And it was done in such a systematic way, I want to say, but it was done and it created this rhythm and kind of a spiral effect it's just in me now, and my mind is probably awakening up to it. But it seems like it's in my body from having experienced it that way. So, yeah, it was just, I mean, I can still smell the smoke from the fires from those times. And I think also being on the land, it's such a beautiful, awakened land. It was just so full of life and acknowledgement that you don't necessarily see, at least, on the streets of Minneapolis. There are pockets, but it was just enlivened. It kind of reminded me of Ireland in that way. There was this way that the land was very soulful, which I believe is everywhere, but I think there's a way in which we can enliven it more than others. So I think that's kind of what I've taken from my experiences primarily.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's really, I think you described very well what the dynamic seems to be.
Yeah.
The most potent version of it, anyway, is to be in it and live it,
and it's almost like
embody
it, yeah. And your consciousness or your acknowledgement comes from that more than anything.
Mhm.
Um, so I think the other thing that I really love, because I am a Chinese medicine practitioner and I do integrative medicine, I bring healing medicines into a hospital setting here in Minneapolis. And so I've been doing this for about 20 years, and I have a sense of energies and different types of energies, and studied Reiki and Qigong, and but this whole Mayan concept is really, it's very, what I really like about it is I feel like when I study it, I'm really opening even more to the awareness of what is present to me, and the beauty and the complexity that connects us to other dimensions even, which, I mean, energy does that, but this system is just really profound to me and so multi-aspected, kind of like a crystal, but a crystal in different time and space as well. And so it's just pretty profound. So I just think I'm just really excited to kind of understand it more and kind of jump into it.
Well, it's really interesting to hear that perspective from somebody who's studied, another ancient system, another comprehensive system based on energies from the other side of the globe.
Yeah, and I think part of it is maybe in the way that I was taught it. I was taught it. Well, I did study under a master teacher for 3 years before I went to school, but again, the information was kind of transferred more intellectually, and and also embodied, but it's been fragmented. So I even feel like the Mayan, this Mayan calendar information, it helps feed how I understand even my own energy work, and what I do with acupuncture and Chinese medicine.
Well, that brings up an interesting point, because, the Mayan wisdom as we know it today, we don't really have access to the ancient texts.
Right.
That, there are 4 of them left, and they're in museums.
Right.
All the rest were burned. Or if there are others, they're kind of hidden in a vault somewhere.
Right.
And the Maya, have kind of a mistrust now of things put in writing. And there lies their emphasis on the oral tradition. It's like, it's more trustworthy. It's more accurate. It keeps it alive.
It's more alive. Yep. And just my experience studying Chinese medicine, and with my main teachings are from people, but it's more fragmented. And I think the same thing is true about Chinese medicine and their real, more profound beliefs. A lot of it is still hidden or lost or have been damaged. So anyway, it's just fascinating to me to.
Well, I know you're going to have to go, but can you just take a moment can you say anything about how you're going to work with this Mayan birthday energy today?
Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm just really trying to be in the moment with it. But I have to say, one thing I noticed, the last, do you call it Trecena? The last 13 days have been
Trecena.
Trecena. The last 13 days have been really profound for me. I'm going through lots of transformations that I was not knowing that was going to happen, but really great stuff, a lot of healing. But I have been not sleeping and a lot of high energy, which is, I have usually a lot of high energy, but I'm also a sleeper, so it's kind of unusual for me. And so clearly there was a big transformation happening. And then yesterday I just came down. It was ending, and I had 9 hours of sleep last night. And I just feel literally like kind of a new person. I was not expecting this. Like, wow, it really is my birthday today. So I don't know what to tell you what's going to come, but I do feel kind of fresh and like something had really transformed in me and shedded, but also just like a flower shoot or something. I'm kind of blossoming out today. So we'll see what the next 13 days brings.
Yeah, and this is the energy that's going to prevail now.
Yeah.
It interacts, of course, it intermingles. All these cycles intermingle
right.
With the daily cycle. But we're all wishing you the very, very best.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for having me on the call.
If you will, shoot us a note or somehow let us know how these things play out for you over the next today, of course, and on the next 13 days. I'm always taking a survey. I'm always curious.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is how we learn from each other, right?
Absolutely.
Hear our stories and.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will.
Well,
I'll keep you updated
on your Mayan birthday.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of the phone call.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, now we're moving on here to our dancing between the 2 day signs aspect of our call today. Kathy Shea is with us. She's in Wisconsin, I believe, at the moment. And just by way of introduction, she was the one back in 2010 that introduced me to Carlos Barrios. And ever since then, we've been enjoying and supporting each other as we have a shared vision of helping to doing whatever we can to bring Mayan wisdom to those people here in our modern Western world that are called to it. And Kathy, I consider a very dear friend and a consistent source of inspiration for me and for countless other people. So, Kathy, welcome. Are you on the line?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you today? Unapu.
I'm slowly waking up, but pretty good so far.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. And without a lot of other introductory information, your wisdom is so rich. What I'd like to do is just ask kind of a real broad question to start. If you could just kind of recount for us your journey with the Mayan calendar, and we'll segue into how this whole notion of 2 day signs has come into play with all of that, if you will.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying all those wonderful things, and for your support too for
true.
Stepping up and helping with all that we have done in these last few years.
I know. Well, thanks for acknowledging that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that Zena said something about how she felt like she was blossoming or flowering. I just wanted to quick say that is like another name for the sign, flower, I believe. So, so I know for myself, I love flowers. So that's at least my part in the Akpu symbology. So anyway, I started out, when I was 17, I had the opportunity to go to Guatemala for 6 weeks. It was like an informal exchange program, and lived with a Spanish family for 6 weeks. And, just kind of, I think, it was exposed to the energies, back then. Didn't really know, much about anything at that time. But something that kind of stays with me often was there were 2 Mayan ladies who, did all the work in that house, cleaning and cooking, and they were very curious about me, and they would come into my room, and, my Spanish was not very good, and they didn't know any English. Who knows if they even knew Spanish, but, they were just, their energy was so bright and shiny, especially the older women. And like their spirit has stayed with me throughout all the different events that we've coordinated, just to give so much honor to them, and that's what I've ended up, coming to realizing how, there's so many different versions of the Mayan calendar out there, but to connect with, the Mayans who have preserved it for so long, which is why I'm so much interested in learning more. But anyway, so I was exposed to Guatemala and different sites, I believe, like Atitlán and Chichicastenango, and kind of went on with my life, going to school, off and on, went to school and got a degree in social work and minor in Spanish. And at one point, it was like 1986 or so, I felt drawn to heading out west, and ended up in Taos, New Mexico. And that was right before what people call the harmonic convergence. And I didn't know anything about it, but from what I had heard, they talked about how they needed 144,000 souls to help bring this new era into being. And I thought to myself, well, I want to help with that. So I lived in this 2-bedroom mobile home and just sat outside of it and meditated that day. And it seemed to me after that point, so many different things kind of sort of catalyzed for me. I felt drawn to buying the book The Mayan Factor by Jose Arguelles, and didn't really understand it, but I had it. And then a few years later, felt drawn to move to Oregon, and I was there for a while, maybe even a year. And I was like, well, I'm here. What is it I'm supposed to be doing? And within 2 weeks, I came across what they call the Dream Style calendar, which
wasn't he living up there then?
He was in Portland area, I believe. Yeah. So the Dream Style, which is like a variation of the Mayan calendar. It's not exactly the Mayan calendar, but it was based on that. But I fell in love with it, and the fact that I had the 13-day cycle. See, I was born on April 13th, so that it was like a sign to me because I love the number 13, even though everybody else, it's like a superstitious number. I loved it.
Well, wasn't it a Friday the 13th?
Yep, Friday the 13th. I know. So, to me that was like
mingling of cultures here.
What was that?
A little intermingling of cultures here.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So, the Dream Style, was just opened things up for me, and every day had a different meaning. And I had the opportunity to go to this week-long seminary, which is what they called it, which Jose Arguelles and his wife, Lloydine, presented all of this information about the Dream Style, the Trecena, just all kinds of information. And I was kind of an observer. I didn't really, get so much into all the information because it did seem kind of overwhelming, and sometimes it did not feel very grounded. But my symbol on a Dream Style was the 8th sun, and apparently that was coincided with what Jose Arguelles said was Pacavotan's symbol. So people kind of honored me with that and said, here, take all this information and spread it. And so I came back to Wisconsin, and I shared, what I had, and met other people who followed the Dream Style, and we would get together. But I felt like there was more, and I had the opportunity to go on a trip to mainly the Yucatan with a group. Our guide was Miguel Vergara Calleros Nazul. I believe he coordinates Illuminado tours. So he would do ceremonies at places like Chichen Itza and Zibo Chaltun, Uxmal, and Palenque. And we also went to Tikal, too. And I had just amazing visions, and the sites were so alive. I just loved it down there. And, so that, I think, connected me, even more. So I came back, and I came across Carlos Barrios' like an email that he had written up about the world will not end, in 2012. And he was doing workshops in Santa Fe, and it worked out for me to go to the first workshop. And since I lived in Taos, I was feeling drawn to move back, so I did. And then he put on a tour in Guatemala, I believe it was 2004 in the summer. And I decided I would go, and so I went. There was just a small group of us. It was pretty informal. But he taught the Mayan fire ceremony, and I was able to. And this was the first year that Westerners were able to actually participate in the Mayan New Year fire ceremonies in the area that they were doing them. So I helped with that, and I have to believe that being involved with the ceremony sometimes is what really has, done something, connected me. Because I think more than anything, the ceremonies and the energies, inspire a person to want to learn more and kind of get a hold on you, it seems almost. But so
right
about fire ceremonies. What was that?
I said it's the fire.
Yeah, well, and then
transformative element, right?
Yeah. There's so much to it. What I really love about the calendar too is it's so ancient, and that's what I liked about Carlos too. He seemed connected to actual Mayan elders who had preserved this knowledge, in their lineages. They're probably over 1,000 years or more, and so I took a lot of workshops then from him and attended whatever fire ceremonies he put on in Santa Fe, and then I felt like we needed to have one up in Taos, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure why, but I asked him if I could help lead a fire ceremony up in Taos, and I never really thought that he would say yes, because I'm not really, trained in all of this. I was definitely a beginner in learning, but he said, "Oh, yes, Kathy, here you go. This is what you do." So with the help of some of the others in Santa Fe.
And at this time, you're thinking you're 13 Apu.
Yes. And
this is your daytime, 13 sun.
Yeah, and it was kind of overwhelming, and a lot of the aspects of 13 Apu are certainty and, enlightenment and things like that, and I did not always feel that, but I did my best to connect with it, but at the same time, there were many other aspects that really did ring true for myself, going through many different tests throughout life. I mean, having followed this path was not necessarily what my parents had hoped that I would do, things like that, but I tended to follow my heart and what felt right. And then other things in Carlos's book, he talks about feeling connected to some of these old sites, whether they be like stone circles or the old Mayan sites, and wishing that you were actually living in those times, and that definitely rang true for me. And so certain things definitely, did fit, and many of the symbols on the Mayan Cross, I just fell in love with. Which is a traveler, which is what I did so much of, especially in my 20s and 30s, and Ish. It's all about nature and connecting with the natural world in a magical way. And even Kame, the dust, it says it's a protector. And there were many times that I was traveling by myself, and there could have been some difficult things that would have happened. But something else came along to kind of help me get out of it. I remember getting stuck in the snow, and some trucker was ready to take me to some other town, and I didn't feel right about it. And this other guy pulled up with a chain, helped pull me out. And so there were so many things like that being protected.
Thank you, Ahau.
Yeah. So so I definitely felt, Akfu, but like I said, I didn't really feel it completely. And then later on, after I, had come back to Wisconsin, and I didn't really do much with the calendar. But then I think it was 2008, suddenly I felt inspired again to, do like a fire ceremony to connect with the Mayan New Year, and sent an email to Carlos and didn't really expect him to even respond, but he called me and this and that, and so started out again, doing more things with the Mayan calendar, and I did a fire ceremony at the community church, and the wax made the symbol of a turtle. Well, the turtle is a symbol for Kawok, which is actually the sign.
The rainstorm, the day before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, and I had bought these turtle earrings in Guatemala that I just loved. I always wanted to wear those in ceremonies, and that really felt almost better to me. And it's about the rain and this kind of storm, and I love storms. I tend to feel a little bit more, many different emotions, and it is more of a feminine side, which is funny because I definitely have a very feminine side, but then I definitely have a very more, I always think more like a male, more independent. So, the more I look at, the fact that I was born in between these two signs, that, it really is a...
And what time of day were you born?
3:44 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I did find this information that Tata Pedro had talked about, that it is, he says it's being between the energies when you're born, midnight and sunrise, because that, according to Carlos, he kind of followed the system where, at midnight is when the day would start, and that's how he kind of does things, and that's what I went along with. But then after bringing Carlos up here, Shuni Hiron, who is also a Mayan spiritual guide who has learned from Tata Pedro Cruz, I met her, and Tata Pedro especially, would talk about that the day goes from sunrise to sunrise. So when he said that made so much sense to me as far as how I was feeling. That
she's like,
it was more of a kawok or a storm. What was that?
You're like mopping your brow, going, I'm Kawok.
Yeah.
I'm called storm, and I'm no longer, well, completely anyway.
Yeah.
And that was recent, right? You just really stepped into that. What? Last fall?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Year.
And you've changed since you knew that.
Oh, you can tell.
I mean, I've noticed actual strengthening of your power and your character because you've got this relationship, validated relationship with Kawak or storm that you were, I don't know if it really ever occurred to you that, I mean, had you looked at that energy before? It's possibly yours, or did you just say, no, I'm 13 Sun, I'm 13 Apu, and that's that?
Yeah, it never occurred to me, really,
Mm-hmm.
I would just didn't think
But there was some struggle. There was some struggle associated with your being, I think that you're 13 Apu. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially being the 13, as well as, the sun, enlightenment, it didn't feel like I was really completely in it. But like I said, I definitely have a lot of the aspects also. So, but once I did, understand, I could be Kawok, 12 Kawok, then that, just felt so much more comfortable. And I love the turtle, and so many things of the turtle will come to me. And it was funny, the colors are blue-green. I've had an aura picture taken, and there were blue-green colors in my aura. And, it seemed like it was trying to tell me before I knew that, this is, part of you also.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anybody who has, this situation also where they're born between midnight and sunrise, look at those signs that come to you to tell you, which part of the symbol you feel, which symbols you feel the most comfortable with. And then I find I just kind of go with the flow. If I'm feeling more kawok, I go with that. But then if more of the energies of Akpu are, stronger, I try to tune into them, and it does feel like you have kind of the support in a way of both of these symbols when you're in between them, which can be overwhelming, but it can also feel wonderful because you have all of these signs, not only the Kawok and Akpu, but then I have all of the other signs of the Mayan Cross, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you feel less conflicted with it. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Less divided, more complete, access to more resources, more of the nawals. And that was kind of immediate. I mean, wasn't it? I mean, because you felt relief almost when you discovered this this validated connection between you and Kawak. And so that enabled more flow for you.
Yeah, I definitely felt just more comfortable. I've always been more connected with animals and nature, and so being able to connect like with the turtle and the elements of the storm, it all just, and then the more I've learned about it, it's definitely the symbol for, the feminine, which I haven't always been totally, embodied, but it kind of gave me more permission to really explore that, and then I have the Akpu, which is more male, which I definitely, fell into, but, and for me it's like, Akawok is a little bit more passive, which I definitely am, but Akpu is more assertive and out there, and so when I do events, I can call on that energy of Akpu, to help me with leading things, and it's just a really, the more I think about it, it's really very balanced.
It's the best of both worlds. But, you think about it. If you were born at 3:45 in the morning, and 4 a.m. is known throughout so many traditions as that time of, that most sublime time on the planet. The energies are calmest. You have more access to the divine flow of consciousness, level of consciousness. I mean, that's why the monks get up and start meditating at 4 a.m. Because things are still. Things are pristine. It's not like at noon, when the sun is beating up overhead, and that's like the peak of daylight activity, of yang energy. It's almost like you're the opposite of that if you were born in those wee early morning hours. So that comes into play too. There's Eagle from Israel chatted in, and he said, well, Ken Johnson says it's sunset to sunset also, in terms of calculating the day signs. And I think what you'll find, like so many other aspects of the Mayan calendar that we Westerners are learning about, is that in the Maya themselves, they don't always agree either in terms of the day sign definitions, or how to calculate Mayan crosses, and I know Carlos calculates the day, the Mayan cross based on a day similar to the Gregorian day, midnight to to midnight is when the day changes. Don Alejandro does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mayan Cross website does the same thing. But you'll find differences for all these aspects throughout the Mayan culture. And, and that's one of the main points that I really like to emphasize. I've started doing it through the Mayan Cross website, but also on these calls. And that's why Kathy's story is so significant to us. And it's, a lot about, what you learn, but it's also about your own experiences in life that will help validate for you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And every person's truth is different, because this system is a soul-based system. And that is so unique to each and every individual. So you really kind of have to weave your own way through this, given, that the information you get on websites and books and even in the ceremonies, hearing, the elders talk about the day signs. It's all available to us to weave our own fabric, our own spiritual fabric. And that's what Jose Arguelles used to talk about, the loom of the Maya, because they're well known throughout the world for fantastic tapestries and weavings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they work with consciousness, is they pull in all these different colored threads and create these just enormous, elaborate, beautiful, uplifting designs.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me speaks more clearly about how to work with these energies and how to understand them. Like Kathy is working with 2 different Mayan crosses and creating this beautiful version of herself, and which is a gift to her and to all of us. And we all have that opportunity. Kathy, can you speak to what you notice about, in your interactions with the Maya and how it is that they may work with the calendar? I mean, aren't they really working with all of the energies, all 260 of these energies?
Yeah, from what I've been exposed to, that definitely seems to be the case. I would really encourage those of us who are, of this Western world, to, there are a lot of resources out there as far as like Jose Arguelles' Dream Spell, and there are others, too. I think Carl Kalaman and Ian Lungo, who are more Westerners. That they're a great introduction, but then to take the next step to really, learn more from those of the actual Mayan world, because even though for me it was sometimes a little bit more difficult, it's much more rich and much more grounded. And so what I've been exposed to Carlos Barrios, who in some ways he's Western, but he's studied with the Mayan elders and lived in Guatemala. And then Tata Pedro, he just embodies it all. It seems.
Yeah.
Himself. He lives so much from his own intuition, and then I took a trip to Guatemala this last February during the YAB, which I'm not sure if everybody knows, but that's the 5 days of like going inward and purification, and they do ceremonies every day. And so there were a lot of nanas and tatas at least the one ceremony that was the last day. And these, people are just, their energy was just so amazing, just pure light. And some, you could tell those, and it's very difficult for a lot of them. There was definitely a sense of stress, with the circumstances down there. But many were just so colorful and just, it's inside of them.
Yeah.
The with
That's
all of
beautiful.
the ceremonies that they have gone through probably throughout their lives.
Mhm. Yeah. Do we? We're getting close to the top of the hour now. Do we have questions from anyone, either on the chat or online, for Kathy, based on all of her wonderful experiences with the Maya and with on her own path? Excuse me. This is a good time to ask if you have anything, because after that we'll be wrapping up a little bit. I've got everybody on unmuted, so if you want to speak, just do so.
I have a question.
Yes, who's calling? Who's
It's
this?
Eagle. Hi.
Hey, good morning,
Hi.
good day, good evening for you.
Good afternoon. Right? Yeah, I have a question for Kathy. Since you've followed the dream spell for a while, what was your birthday according to that system? And after you've calculated your birthday according to the classical, what was your reaction when you really got the genuine reading?
Well, my birthday on the dream spell was 8th sun.
Oh,
8th
sun again.
Yeah, so when Carlos calculated my birthday with the Mayan, it was 13 Akpu, or sun. So in that way, at least, it was the same symbol, basically, but just with a different number. And at that time, the dream spell interpreted the 8 as being integrity. And I really like that, too, because I really have tried to live my life, with good integrity. So it wasn't, that far off at all. But I did find that it just didn't feel grounded, and so I think I wanted to just learn more from more of the actual Mayans. And
you put it aside.
Oh, go ahead.
So you just put it aside, the dream spell.
I still have all the information I got, and I think it's a great beginning for people to start out with, but I would definitely encourage people not to use that exclusively. And there's if you talk to Carlos, he doesn't have, a lot of good things to say about Jose Arguelles. But he really did introduce a lot of, English-speaking people to the Mayan calendar, and you have to give him credit for that. And a lot of the connections that he's made with the calendar are really very significant. I still use the dream spell, this chart that they have where it shows the 13 cycles, 52, or what is it? I think it's 13-day cycles, end up 52, and then you have the 5 of those different cycles all together, and it's a beautiful, chart the way it's all set out. So there's definitely a lot of wonderful knowledge there, but it just doesn't feel like it had real roots, and that, to me, those of the Mayan world are the ones who have gone through so many difficulties just to try to preserve their knowledge, that they need to be honored more than anybody. But at the same time, I do know how difficult it can be to actually try to go down there and get it. It just happened where I was able to connect with Shuni more than anybody. Shuni Kiron, Shumantra, Phoenix Kiron, and who, I was able to then go down for the Wayab and really get a very authentic experience, rather than just going to the different Mayan temple sites on my own. So,
and by the way, Shuni is Kame, and she will be with us on June 5th for the telewebcast. It's a Wednesday. Let's see, 26 days from now. And it's great with her because she's Guatemalan and she speaks very fluent English and Spanish as well. So she can really do a beautiful job translating a lot of the concepts. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we have is unless you're really fluent in Spanish, you can't really get that close to the feeling of these things. And then, then you have to go from Spanish to one of the Mayan languages too. And then that translation is, if you've been looking at the trial, the Rios Montt trial, where all these the victims, families of the victims that are testifying against Rios Montt, I mean, they only speak their Mayan language, and they have to be interpreted in the court, and it's, oh my gosh, it's presenting all kinds of challenges. So a lot of what we can do, really, as Kathy said, is if you're able, just to get around the fire, to feel it, to really trust your intuition with it, using the written material and other things as mileposts, as guidelines, but really trust and work with your own intuition. And so we try to provide as many opportunities as we can to do this in our own way up here in the Western world. We will have a fire ceremony on May 18th, which is 3 seed or 3 Kanil, here in the Chicago western suburbs, starting at 2 o'clock. We'll do some training on the Mayan Cross. We'll have a potluck and also a fire ceremony that will be, Kathy will be there, I will be there, Shuni will be there, and Elizabeth Cullen, who is our guardian for the fire circle up in Evanston, will all be here. And then our next telewebcast is on May 23rd, which is 1 read. It's a Thursday, 1 read. And we're also, I'm looking for volunteers for that one. The only read person that I know of is Barack Obama, and I don't think I'll get him for the call. But I've got a couple of inquiries out there, but I'm still working on that one. So if anybody has any great ideas, please let me know. And then also this summer, from August 2nd to 4th, Zena, who was on the call earlier, whose Mayan birthday it is today, is hosting a Toltec elder who is very, very well-versed in not only the Toltec tradition, but also the Mayan traditions. His name is Armando Cruz, and he's coming in for a 3-day intensive workshop on walking, how to walk as a spiritual warrior. And then from this August 24th to September 24th, we will be hosting Tata Pedro Cruz, who is an elder from the Maya lands, the one that Kathy's been referring to and we all refer to so fondly, because he is an embodiment of all 260 of the aspects of the Mayan sacred calendar. He'll be doing a sacred tour. We're going from St. Louis all the way up to Minnesota, which is hundreds of miles. And he'll be activating a number of sacred sites there with the fire, with teachings. Kathy, thank goodness, is coordinating all the activities in the Wisconsin area. I'll be doing the same in the Chicago area. And then Zena will be helping us in Minnesota, and then another woman will be helping us in St. Louis. So this is really exciting, even for those of you who won't be joining us physically. We'll be keeping you attuned to what's happening here via Facebook and Twitter, and so that all of our intentions can be with him and with all of us during that sacred time. So those are the announcements. Let's just take a moment to wrap up here with some silence and setting your intentions for the next 13 days with this sun, this blowgun hunter, this Ahpu energy. Just check in with that before we do the count. And one of the things that this energy is really good for is clarity, integrity and clarity, strength to overcome, and to shine brilliantly, that light and love. That we and the whole world needs so much these days. And so I'm going to, for the chat people, I've typed in all the numbers in Quiche Mayan. And we can do the count using these numbers. Kathy, do you have them memorized?
I don't have them memorized, but I do have them right in front of me right now.
Okay. So how do you feel about leading the count? And we'll do call and response. So you can go first, and then we'll repeat.
Sure.
Want to go that way? All right.
Sure.
Okay.
So we have Hun Achpu.
Hun Achpu.
Kai Achpu. Sun.
Keb Achpu.
Oshi Achpu. Or sun.
Oshib Achpu.
Kachi Achpu. Or sun.
Kachib Achpu.
Wu Achpu. Or sun.
Wu Achpu.
Wai Achpu. Or sun.
Waib Achpu.
Wuku Achpu. Or sun.
Wupub Achpu.
Wakshaki Achpu. Or sun.
Washapib Achpu.
Eleche Achpu. Or sun.
Belehib Achpu.
Lachuch Achpu. Or sun.
Lachuch Achpu.
Chun Lachuch Achpu. Or sun.
Hulachuch Achpu.
Kablachuch Achpu.
Ablachuch Achpu.
Oshlachuch Achpu.
And then Dr. Pedro goes, oh, Shlachuch Achpu. Oh, woof. Thank you, everyone. Matios.
Matios, thank you.
Group hug for everyone in our circle. And may the next 13 days bring you all that feeds your growth and your highest good. Thank you so much. Join us again. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.